Hello there. Look at who I stumbled across yesterday afternoon during my sojourn into our capital. Now, those of you that have watched my last video will know I travelled all the way into that foreign land called London yesterday to attend what was, in effect, an anti-Sadiq Khan protest. But amongst the throng was my next guest, a straight talker and funny with it. You won't want to miss what former MP Lembit Opik has to say. So hello there, once again this afternoon at the anti-ULEZ protest. Now I'm joined by former MP, Lib Dem MP, but we'll forgive him for that. And he's now actually a reverse eco-warrior. Have I got that right?
Exactly right. I'm the Director of Communications and Public Affairs for the Motorcycle Action Group, and we are completely aligned with what you're seeing behind us here.
Excellent. Now, the Motorcycle Action Group has got more of a worry over everything at the moment, as I understand it, than actually car drivers do, or new car buyers going into the future. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Essentially, if we are forced to buy electric vehicles only, which is the threat of the Labour Party in 2030 and the Conservative Party in 2035, it will destroy traditional motorcycling. In terms of the ultra-low emission zone, it's even worse. The least wealthy commuters in this city tend to use two wheels instead of four. And of course, there's an entire gig industry, gig economy, which depends on these low-cost, high-efficiency mopeds and small-powered motorcycles to move things around. And what Sadiq Khan is doing in one fell swoop is destroying all of that. The people he promised to represent the most are suffering the most.
Yeah, which is really quite sort of anti-Labour, really, isn't it? Is the Labour Party meant to do things for the small people, but they don't seem to be doing it here at all?
Sadiq Khan made lots of promises to the motorcyclists when he first got elected. He hasn't kept any of them. We haven't got universal access to bus lanes. We haven't been treated with parity of esteem, even with car drivers, let alone cyclists. And he has fundamentally let down the people that he said he would be championing in London. And he's done it without any scientific basis. The reason folks are so angry here is because it's utter economic madness to do this, and it's scientifically illiterate because he can't really prove that people's health have been improved.
Yeah, you nearly used the B word there. I could see it hovering on your lips, wasn't it?
I nearly used a word which would require you to use this interview only after the watershed.
That's right,
but that's how angry people are.
No, I noticed.
Ordinary folks, many of whom have never demonstrated ever before, are standing here saying, why are you destroying our livelihoods?
Yeah, they are. They're destroying something which has been pretty fundamental. I mean, a lot of these, especially the older people, when they grew up, the motorcycle was the only transport they had. They couldn't afford cars. They got second-hand motorbikes, kept them on the road, and just kept and went to work, went and enjoyed themselves and all the rest of it. And that will all disappear.
When I was 17, I was liberated by having a little 100cc Yamaha. It gave me a whole life, in a sense, and a degree of self-confidence and self-respect and independence. Now, as I grew older, it's all I could afford. I couldn't afford a car, but I could get around by having a small capacity and then a larger capacity motorcycle. All of that gets swept away if you insist on the poor having to buy brand new motorcycles. But it's worse than that. The ultra-low emission zone has no health benefit, whatever. And I stress this point because we've tried to get Sadiq Khan to understand that we know that he's just made something up here. We also exposed a leak which showed he was trying to lean on a particular university to back this up, even though one of the departments said it's made a negligible effect on emissions. And if he's so right, why is he forcing people into the underground where the particulate matter is hundreds or even thousands of percent higher than at street level? It doesn't stack up, and he knows it.
Yeah, I've seen one of the two YouTube channels where they've got the meter. You know, this is an official meter that measures it properly. Up here, it looks fine. Down the underground, and it looks like, you know, the pits of hell. So why are we sending children down there, but we're frightened to put them near cars up here?
It's pollution Armageddon down there.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it does do people harm, but Sadiq Khan can't have it both ways.
No, you can't.
Either he has to accept that he's killing people in the underground with somewhere like North Hampstead Underground Station at 3,000% higher levels of particulate matter than at street levels, or he has to admit he's lying.
Yeah, I mean, I bought one of those machines and I've got it at home. I was going to bring it, but I just haven't got room for everything. And when I did I fried a steak, guess what happened? The machine went through the roof just because I was frying a steak. As soon as I opened the window and I thought, well, if that happens in every single house, you fry something and instantly your house becomes, well, you're all going to die within 5 minutes. So where are we going with this? It's just not, it can't be true.
There are two factors, as you say. One is the NOx, the nitrogen oxides. The other one is particulate matter.
Yeah.
As soon as you do a fry up, you saturate your room. Orders of magnitude more than you get out here. When it comes to nitrogen oxides, the highest exposure you get to that is when you're cooking in winter, because if you cook with gas, then lots of it comes off. I'm probably the only person in Britain who's actually done a comparison, or found a comparison, on what happens to people who cook with gas instead of electricity, because that's a proxy comparison of what it does to your health. Guess what? There's no difference.
Oh, right, okay,
NOx at the levels that we experience does no harm at all. What does do harm is making it hard for people to get around.
No, that making it harder for people to get around means their journeys are longer and more convoluted and therefore more non-eco-friendly, as it were. If people can't get around, they have to rely on all sorts of other things. I cannot understand why can't. The most efficient thing is walking out your door, getting in your car or on your bike and going to where you need to go. Then that needs to be made as easy as possible. That's all they need to do.
All my life, I've assumed that travelling is a rite of passage, literally. All my life, I've assumed that one of the great freedoms in our society is going from A to B without interference from the state. Sadiq Khan has swept all that away. As a Labour mayor, he has done the opposite of what he said he would do. He has shackled the working class into either travelling by public transport or not travelling at all. And there are people who live just outside the ultra-low emission zone who can't afford to go and see their elderly relatives just inside it. There are nurses for whom it's not really economically viable to go to work anymore. I bring my business out of London now instead of bringing it in on principle. And meanwhile, knife crime goes up, all these other problems, and he obsesses about the road user. The priorities that he's now got are so far from reality, it's a surreal situation.
As you said, the knife crime, that sort of is a bit of an eye-opener on what's happening generally. In fact, shoplifting is a massive thing across the country as well as in London, where the police have basically been told, don't go after them, go after the motorist.
5 days before this interview here today, I was robbed 100 metres away in the Pret-a-Manger in Trafalgar Square.
Oh, right,
Somebody came in, stole my phone. I realised within 5 seconds, but I couldn't leave my things in case the gang came to steal the rest. That has materially harmed me financially. It's wasted 3 days of my life, and it makes me have a really negative feeling about being in central London. But Khan is obsessed with the internal combustion engine. He doesn't want us to drive in unless there's an electric vehicle. And the other thing Khan's doing is trying to force us to use a form of propulsion which, if the battery cracks, can incinerate and poison your entire family. What's so sad about it is he's one of the most powerful mayors in the whole world. But apparently that means he doesn't have to listen to the logic.
And chairman of the C40 Cities organisation as well to boot.
C40 sounds like a 1940s aircraft. It's actually a pernicious piece of self-promoting rubbish by other mayors as well, who all get together to tell us how to live our lives.
But they get together without us knowing what they're doing. We haven't voted for them to get together, and we haven't voted for the decisions they make.
The irony is worse. Sadiq Khan took a whole team to fly from London to New York to talk about the environment.
Right. He did a WEF thing then.
Sadiq Khan is in the pocket of hypocrisy. Don't fly, but we must, in order to tell you not to fly. 70,000 people flew to Dubai to talk about the climate emergency, which, by the way, doesn't exist. Sadiq Khan is part of that horrible cabal of people who simply want to tell us how to live without having the slightest intention of doing it themselves.
Yeah, and that also goes as far as meat eating and things like this, which I find absolutely unbelievable. I found out the other day the biggest methane producer is rice. Is making rice because they got paddy fields where everything rots or they burn it off. And I thought that can't be right, but I checked 2 or 3. Yep, rice is just about the biggest man-made methane producer. But oh no, we're going to go after cows. But they want us to go and eat plant-based foods. Strange, you know.
There's another problem here. What Sadiq Khan really needs to do to stop global warming is ban Hunga Tonga, the underwater volcano that spat millions of gallons of water into the high atmosphere. No, we'll just ban it, just make it illegal. Put it in prison. Because when that went off, global temperatures went up by just under 1 degree Celsius. And it's obvious as night follows day, it's because of the water vapor that went into high atmosphere.
Yeah.
Your viewers might not understand this or might not have heard this before, but the biggest single climate change gas is water vapor. Yeah. 90 times more influential at the equator than CO2. But he goes for CO2 because we make it. Why doesn't he just ban water vapor?
Yeah, but we don't make that much of it anyway. But water vapor, the clouds, when cloud cover's there, we all know that it tends to be a bit warmer in the morning, doesn't it, when there's good cloud cover? And when it's bright and clear, then it's colder.
In the nighttime, clouds keep the heat in. In the daytime, clouds keep the heat out. Yeah. It's a beautiful, natural air conditioning system for planet Earth. But Khan doesn't care about the science. When you try to engage with these green fanatics, they simply say, you should be cancelled. Why? Because you haven't got an answer, mate. Yeah. That's the reason.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Is there anything else that's going on that's taking your fancy and sort of and getting you all irate?
I'm really irate about the fact that we are now pariahing people for the crime of having a vehicle. Yeah. This country liberated its citizens by enabling them to go and fly once a year for a holiday. The Great Revolution in the 60s and the 70s, the package holidays, meant that flying wasn't the purview of just the few.
Yeah.
The ownership of an internal combustion engine vehicle is writ large across the whole of China, where they're moving from bicycles to powered vehicles. What fundamentally bothers me more than anything else in the transport sector is this faux religion, which is perpetrated by people who have no intention of stopping flying and having expensive vehicles, but who want to tell the proletariat how to live. More than anything probably in my political life, this has motivated me to stand here in Trafalgar Square with you and say, the individuals who live 2 kilometres away from here in Parliament need to remember they're not our rulers, they're our servants. And the ones who don't agree with what we're saying should be disposed of. In terms of voted out. I'm involved with something called Operation Earthquake, introduced by Neil Liversidge, who's the chair of the Motorcycle Action Group. Yeah. And we're saying to every candidate, if you're not with us, then we're not going to pay your salary anymore. Goodbye, we'll find a candidate who suits our needs. Good.
Well done. Well, it's been great speaking to you, and I think I hope you just keep going. Don't give up, is what I'm saying, because this is not a battle we can give up.
To quote a line from where I grew up, no surrender.
No surrender, yeah. Great to see you again.
My pleasure.
So what do you think about the issues Lembit spoke about? Please like, subscribe and comment below.